Hi, I'm Tara Lynn of Geek Saga Entertainment, and welcome to Hot D Takes. This podcast series covers HBO's House of the Dragon episode by episode with myself, an avid reader of all things ASWAP, and my friend Manny, a Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon fan who is unsullied, aka has never read the books, being your stalwart hosts. So first things first, you can find me on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at A Geek Saga.
And I'm Manny, the aforementioned Unsullied co-host, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Benissimo Art. Thanks for joining us for this episode, which will cover House of the Dragon Season 3, Episode 8, titled The Treasons at Tumbleton.
As a reminder, expect spoilers from the episode we're covering, but less obvious, there will be very minimal book spoilers, or maybe more so comparisons from Fire and Blood, which is, of course, the source material for House of the Dragon. We're going to start with a summary of the Treasons at Tumbleton, then cover what we think are the main hot takes from this episode, and conclude with a favorites roundup from this week's new installment, which is, of course, the season 3 finale, by the way. I can't believe we're here, finally here.
Finally here, exactly, for better, for worse. We also have a rating system that we will, like true Targaryens, fill in when and where we please. That system includes rating things on a scale of 1 to 10 Targ eyebrows.
Just one last piece of business before we dig in. Don't forget that Geek Saga Entertainment has a Patreon. It offers tons of ways to support us and receive some great perks in return, including access to certain patron-only live streams for $5 and up a month, or early access to our video recordings of the patron-only live streams and podcast episodes as well for just $3 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.
And now it's time for the long and the short of it, our weekly episode summary. This episode has a very paste-be-damned feeling, but setting that aside for right now, we begin with Orwell rushing to Rhaenyra to deliver news of Aegon's return, causing her to rush to Daemon in a full panic attack mode because, well, everyone has been saying Aegon and Sunfire were both dead, and what is rising from the dead but a sign from the gods that Aegon is meant to rule? Sigh. Of course, Daemon being Daemon, he reminds Rhaenyra that the only quality the realm understands is strength, and after she takes a few deep breaths, she decides to send him to the front lines at Tumbleton, where she wants him to root out and kill every high tower, while also reminding him not to make her look like a monster. Daemon is certainly more than happy to obey, but sadly, Rhaenyra doesn't so much need to worry about him making her look like a monster. She kind of does that all on her own in this episode. First, snapping at Baela when Baela speaks her mind, then force-feeding our poor girl Helena, sending Mysaria away without giving her any good reason for doing so, and even having Alan killed the freaking High Septon. Listen, good riddance to that asshat, but also, girl, you just had the Westerosi Pope killed and then marched outside to regale your attending council members and a whole bunch of King Landing small folks with the prophecy. Not looking good, Rhaenyra, not looking good. I personally like to call it her Hitler speech.
Oh, God.
because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Harrenhal, Alice Rivers opens up to Aemond about her sad backstory. But even that doesn't seem like will be enough to keep him in line once Aegon arrives on Sunfire, itching for a fight, and instead finding that Aemon who prostrates himself and asks for forgiveness. This leads to Aegon filling Aemon in on what is happening outside of his Chipotle Harrenhal, and ordering Aemon to accompany him, insisting that they go find Vhagar, deal with Ormond and their brother Daron, and then take King's Landing back from Rhaenyra, and that apparently is where we leave Aegon and Aemon and his so-called betrothed for now.
King's Landing and Harrenhal aside, the real meat of the episode takes place in and around Tumbleton, because the bulk of Rhaenyra's forces have arrived outside its gates, soon followed by Daemon and Caraxes. While Ormond rushes around the town screaming for his secret weapon, Ulf, Gwaine sneaks Corlys out of his cell and brings him to Daemon along with a peace treaty offer. Granted, Gwaine wants Daron to be able to rule from Old Town, while Corlys interrupts and instead proposes making Daron a Warden of the South. But of course, Daemon continues, being Daemon, refusing this offer, taking Corlys as his own prisoner for even suggesting such a traitorous proposition, and sending Gwaine scuttling back to Tumbleton. And so the battle commences. Despite Ormond bolstering the battlements with freaking children and Daemon abstaining from utilizing Caraxes for a good portion of the battle, the Northerners are able to breach the walls, and eventually the gates are broken or burned open as well. As Damon fights Bold John Roxton and Roddy the Ruin searches for Ormond Hightower, Ormond himself finally discovers Ulf passed out in a privy and, not surprisingly, loses his barely controlled temper, kicking Ulf while he's down, just like Damon did, and ordering Ulf to take to the skies, which he does, only after being humiliated yet again. Ulf doesn't just turn his dragon on Rhaenyra's forces, but on the Hightower forces as well, which means also on Tumbleton and a whole fuck ton of innocent people. I guess we can at least be glad that before this happened, Roddy did in fact catch up with Ormond and take that prick out the proper way. And glad that Ulf's attack on the town helped Damon with his Bold John Roxton problem, we suppose. Unfortunately, despite these small victories, if we can even call them that at this point, in the aftermath of the battle, things only get worse. Hugh rushes into Tumbleton to find his wife dead. Bold John Roxton is still alive, and our girl Helena, our poor, sweet, bug-loving, prophetic dreamer, has had enough of life as she'd been knowing it and jumped from her bedroom window, but not before cross-stitching a pretty nasty portrait of what Rhaenyra really looks like sitting the Iron Throne. And that, sadly, is where we end the season. But before we really get into all of the things we have to say about this episode, first we have to take a look at Maester Manny's predictions from last week. First off, Allison is going to die. No.
No, she came out for 10 seconds. That was it.
Yeah, she was literally not in the episode at all until she saw the moths or butterflies or whatever they are, bugs. I think they were supposed to be some sort of moth or butterfly, but yeah. That was all we saw of Allison. So Allison is still alive. We got plenty of other deaths instead, only one that we really care about, I think. And then the other prediction you had was that there would be more of a line drawn in the sand with people jumping ship, like seeing the way the wind is blowing. And not necessarily that people from Rhaenyra's side would go to the Hightower side or to Ormond, but just not really wanting to necessarily be part of Rhaenyra's fight anymore. I think this is another one where it's like, we saw the vestiges of this starting to happen, but more so it might come to fruition next season. But I definitely think we saw Adam's not happy, Bela's not happy. So Corley's obviously hasn't been happy, but I think that he was kind of already, he's back with Damon and maybe he'll go to King's Landing, but I don't think he's going to be going there to necessarily hand himself over to Rhaenyra as like her hand again. I think we were seeing the beginnings of this more so than it coming to fruition. But that's how the predictions go, I guess.
That's how they go. This is why don't believe a psychic, bro. Anyway, so on to it. Hot take number one. Let's get started and get this right out of the way with from fan fave to fascist, because wow, did Rhaenyra make a hard left in this episode. A little too hard and a little too fast, if you ask me.
Yeah, same. I agree. She sheds more trappings of her femininity, clearly is wanting to be more like Damon going forward. She sends Masari away. And listen, Masari might have had her own machinations in play, but she was also Rhaenyra's moral compass in a lot of ways. So that's definitely a sign of the future times that I don't care for.
Where do I start with this one? Disappointment. A weak leader knows no other way to rule than with tyranny. It's that simple. She clearly has lost all control here. From trying to be fake nice, to not giving a shit about anyone around her, to force feeding Helena, to her Hitler speech in front of the poor folk. How the mighty have fallen. I can no longer support Rhaenyra, and now I must leave Team Black to register as an independent. Sending Massaria away makes it makes a lot of sense onto where Rhaenyra's character is at.
Yeah.
Right. She knows what Massaria would say and clearly doesn't want to go through the rodeo of explanation justifying her actions. I mean, let's face it, we've all done this in the past. We've all done something, and there's that one friend that like, I don't really want to talk to them about it because you know what they're going to say, and you know that they're going to say, well, you're kind of doing this or whatever. And in the end, you do those things because you absolutely know that you're wrong.
Yeah. And part of me is kind of like, okay, I get it about her basically ordering that the High Septon be killed. Like, listen, he has been a total ass. But also, this above all else, I think is going to cause some major problems. I mean, there's a litany of other issues here, obviously, in terms of Rhaenyra's rule. But I think that is going to come back to bite her a lot more than, and I could be wrong, maybe her telling off Bela is going to turn out to be the worst thing. I don't know, but killing the High Septon is not going to go over well with a whole lot of people, not just the Starry Sept, because there are a lot of religious people in King's Landing, the small folk included, and maybe even especially. And then her going out and giving that speech in front of the attending small council members and that crowd of small folk and just putting the prophecy out there. Like, girl, we as viewers know where you're coming from here. Okay, we get it. It's the prophecy. This is important. But to these people, you just look kind of crazy. Did you see the look that Torrin Manderley had on his face? He was like, what is this lady saying? What is this nonsense? And then she breaks into High Valyrian at the end to say, like, I am the prince who was promised. And I mean, A, of course, we know she's not, but B, also saying that in High Valyrian in front of people who mostly, there might be one or two people there on the platform with her that understand High Valyrian. Like maybe her son Joffrey knows some, but the rest of them, no. It does not look good when you're speaking a language that nobody else knows because it's the language of your people and your people only. Bela and Rhaena know some because of Daemon, and their mother was also a dragon rider. But yeah, I just, and yeah, the look that Torrin Manderley had, I feel like was just, they only showed us his look, but you know there were a lot of people around that were probably also, what the fuck is she talking about? What is she on about? What is she on about?
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of made the joke of, oh, you got to leave Team Black and register as an independent now. I don't even know what to think because, yeah, I guess that's kind of the same thought, same hat here. But one of the things you mentioned too was that this felt very sudden and very rushed. Obviously, we've been seeing Rhaenyra losing her shit for episodes now. This wasn't Dany levels necessarily of like, I'm going to burn King's Landing to the ground, but I do feel like them having Rhaenyra take this hard left like that in the season finale, it just leaves us with no one to root for as we go into season 4. We can joke around and say like, oh, well, we do kind of like some changes that are happening with, well, and we'll get into some of this later. We do kind of like some changes that are happening with Aegon. Not so much there anymore. We do kind of like maybe some changes that are happening with Aemon, but we're not going to root for them to rule. And now we don't want to root for Rhaenyra to rule either. I have no skin in the game anymore at this point.
Yep, I'm right there with you. I want to know what happens to Rhaena and Sheepstealer at this point, but that's about it.
It was an odd choice to have this happen so fully in the season 3 finale, knowing there's a whole entire other season, and Helena's gone too. Again, another thing we'll talk about in a little bit, but who the fuck are we supposed to root for? Because I see no one. Yep. Y'all are all on my shit list.
All of them at this point. That's why I'm like, you know what, guys, I'm just leaving the party, man.
Except for maybe Bela. Bela's
yeah.
Corley's, I guess, and Adam. And I care about Daemon to an extent, but we all know Daemon is an asshole, and he also fucked up some in this episode. Somehow nowhere near as bad as Rhaenyra, but yeah, I don't know. Well, piggybacking on that first hot take a bit, we have hot take number 2. When your gal pals say, girl, check yourself before you wreck yourself, you should probably listen. Or, okay, to be fair, Bela and Helena aren't exactly Rhaenyra's gal pals, but Rhaenyra definitely should have listened to these younger women in her life who were telling it as they saw it. First up, Bela. She wanted to go rescue Corlys, but Rhaenyra refused this request, and Bela gets like big angy. I do want to say that it's not entirely fair of Bela to go off about how she and Adam have been going out without rest to look for Rhaenyra's enemies, because Bela herself kept insisting she was fine and could keep doing the thing. Okay? Rest be damned. We'll keep going out. We'll keep going out. It wasn't really fair of her to come at Rhaenyra with that, because she was the one who kept saying they were fine. Even Adam was trying to like, no, we need rest. And Bela's like, no, I will do it. So just saying. And then Bela tells Rhaenyra, if a person is useful to you, you wield them, but if not, you abandon them. Again, I don't think that's entirely true, but I also completely understand why Bela sees it that way. And I get it. Rhaenyra's pissed. She doesn't like this younger woman talking back to her. But my God, like, damn, Rhaenyra, calling Bela a child, she's not. And then telling Bela, you know, insolence runs in your blood, and she bashes Rhaena in regard to that too. Ugh, I don't know. Not great. The calling Bela a child In the book, she is, I think, only about 14 at this point, but there's no way that Bela is 14 in the show. I have a feeling she's supposed to be more like 18 to 20 at very youngest. I could be wrong about that, but she sure as hell doesn't look only 14. And I do know that they age a lot of these younger characters up anyway. So yeah, don't call somebody a child when they're not. I understand too. It's like when you have a kid who's 18, 19, 20, of course they're younger than you. Of course they don't understand shit. And yes, they're a very young adult and they don't have the knowledge that you have, Rhaenyra, or any parent or older relative that's in your 30s, 40s, whatever. I know Rhaenyra's not 40s, but at the same time, in this case, Bela was right. Maybe some of what she said was a little extra, but she's not entirely wrong either.
Yeah.
And then we have Helena, where at first it seems like she's trying to have a conversation with Rhaenyra, an actual conversation. But honestly, I kind of wonder if that conversation was actually a trap to begin with, that Helena knew Rhaenyra wouldn't give a crap about her beautiful beetle story.
No.
I almost feel that this was just a way for Helena to segue into calling Rhaenyra out, saying all the things you care about are ugly. This place is ugly. You, yourself, ugly. Whoa, girl.
Yeah, dude. Some shade right there, man.
I know she doesn't mean physically, you know what I mean? She meant you are like a dark, ugly person inside, which I don't necessarily believe that entirely either. I don't think Rhaenyra has always been some dark, ugly person inside, but this just goes back to power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely, y'all.
It does. And I think in a lot of ways, a lot of her actions have to do with also feeling powerless. She can't keep the realm together. Nobody's really supporting her. There's graffiti all over her fucking streets of people who fucking hate her. They have no fucking gold. They have nothing going on, and it's completely fallen apart.
The Pope won't anoint her.
The Pope won't anoint her, which honestly, those Septon people can suck my butt, you know? As far as I'm concerned, they should have burned that shit. You know, that's like the one thing Cersei did that I fucking loved about her. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I didn't fucking like that. What's her name got burnt up, and it was a Marjorie Tyrell?
Marjorie, yeah.
Yeah, because I loved her, you know, so I hated that she got fucking killed. But seriously, I was like, you know what? Nah, I'd have done the same thing. I'd have set it on fire. It's really convenient that Bela's just a child now. All of a sudden, it's just a child. This goes back to the whole, if a person is useful, wield them. And if not, you abandon them. Here we go. This is not a good look for Rhaenyra at all. I did enjoy the conversation about the beetle. I definitely felt like it was a setup for her to just say that she's ugly and what she's chasing is fucking ugly. And the look of fake interest and impatience shows what a piece of shit Rhaenyra has become. I know she's panicking about what's going on, but if Rhaenyra really gave a fuck about Helena, which she does not, then she would have at least leaned back in her chair, had a nice conversation, and just been like, okay, let's forget about work for a minute and let's talk about your beetle or whatever. But she has fucking intentions. She has motives. She's a schemer, and that's what she's doing now. She has now entered the actual like realm of Game of Thrones person now. You know, we got to be maniacal and try to do this shit. I honestly don't think it would have taken much to make Helena feel safe and at peace. And she probably would have worked with fucking Rhaenyra, honestly.
To an extent, anyway, yeah.
To an extent, absolutely. But Rhaenyra has no time for fucking leadership or compassion anymore. And it's sad.
Nope. And she does not take anything that either one of these girls say to her to heart, at least not in the way that those things should have been taken to heart.
On the hot take number 3, never ask a woman her age, but if she's Alice Rivers, you damn well better listen when she tells you, aka Alice reveals her backstory. We all knew that Alice was much older than she appeared, but to have her explain that she was at Harrenhal when it was burned by Balerion and was cursed to be stuck within the bounds of the River Kings of old alone, forced to serve whatever idiot lord takes Harrenhal as his seat. All because she played with magics, yes, magics, plural, in her attempts to save her son who was critically injured during the burning.
Let's do a bit of math here real quick. Balerion burned Harrenhal in 2 BC, before the conquest. In the current Hot D timeline, it's 130 AC, after the conquest. Even assuming that Alice Rivers was a young mother, say 14 to 16 years old. Yeah, gross, I know. But assuming that, and also assuming that the son she lost was at best a toddler, so maybe 2 to 4 years old, which I think it sounds like he maybe was a little bit older, or maybe even quite a bit older than that. But let's just say the son was at best a toddler, so 2 to 4 years old. That means that Alice Rivers is at least between 148 and 152 years old. Probably more like 155 to 160. And not to take away from the sadness of her story, but that curse of hers puts modern skincare regimens and fillers and plastic surgery to shame.
Yeah, it does.
This is definitely very much like a show canon thing. In Fire and
Mhm.
Blood, we never really know anything about exactly. There's rumors about where Alice Rivers came from, mostly just that she's a bastard, but no specifics at all. And there's no information on who Heron the Black was wed to, at least not that I can recall. And I actually looked it up and I didn't see anything on the Wiki of Ice and Fire about his wife either. He did have sons, but none of them survived. They all were burned at Harrenhal, I think. So yeah, this is an interesting take. I'm not against it. I guess I'm here for it. I do like Alice, so hey, sure, give her this tragic backstory, and maybe now she'll get to have more sons with Aemond. I'm not really sure how she thinks that's gonna work out. Like, has she been celibate for
Yeah.
130 something years? I don't know.
And I'm so torn, right? Because I fucking hate Chipotle, I fucking Harrenhal so much, but I like Alice so much. That's one of those things, right? You get into a relationship with somebody and they like something you just don't. So you know what you got to do? You just got to go eat at fucking Chipotle. That's what it is. She loves fucking Chipotle and she's sweet enough to you and she likes you and you're just like, fuck. It's like, but I don't care about Harrenhal anymore. Okay. Just fucking burn it down at this point. Just get rid of it. Okay. Put up a fucking Spirit Halloween or some shit and just fucking get rid of it. You know, like, I'm done
I mean,
with
to
it
be honest,
already.
it fits more as a Spirit Halloween. Let's be real.
Yeah,
But
it does for sure.
the way she words it is that she's bound to the land that the River Kings of old inhabited.
Hmm.
She doesn't always have to stay in Harrenhal specifically. It's not like she can't ever leave the grounds. And there was, back in season 2, there was that whole story with Lord Tully, not the current young Lord Tully, but his father or grandfather, whoever it was, who is still alive, who was very old, who passed away kind of conveniently. And it was like, did Alice kill him, or is she just trying to make Damon think that she killed him for him? Whatever. It doesn't really matter either way, because the Lord Tully was going to die no matter what. But yeah, so she can travel some, but it sounds like whatever her travels are, they have to be within the boundaries of the Riverlands, and not even necessarily the current Riverlands. The Riverlands of old might have even been somewhat smaller. And then on top of that, it sounds like maybe she can't leave Harrenhal for long periods of time either. This whole thing where she's been forced to serve every penny lord who comes to take Harrenhal as his seat. That's sad. I feel bad for her in that respect, all because she just made some bad deals when she was trying to save her son. She did not beat the devil in that fiddle playing game.
No.
You know, the devil went down to Harrenhal, and unfortunately,
Harrenhal.
Alice did not win this fiddle battle.
No.
Okay. Unfortunately, we do have to remain in Harrenhal for a little bit longer with hot take number 4. I'm alive, imbecile. In which Aegon arrives at Harrenhal and doesn't exactly find what he expected. Aemond isn't acting at all like the kinslayer usurper, see you next Tuesday, that Aegon wanted to confront. Instead, he kneels before his brother and apologizes, which of course has Aegon, baby gone, whining about how he was supposed to enjoy this confrontation. He really wanted to fight Aemond. Like, okay, man. Honestly, I just really enjoyed this scene. I even felt a little bit sad for Aemond for how broken down he looked and acted. Baby Gone, he was funny, that's for sure. But also, just like we talked about last week, he's back to his old self, and that might not be good. I would give this scene 8.5 or 9 out of 10 Targ eyebrows, honestly. I really enjoyed it.
I would definitely give it a 9 out of 10. You know, it was a build up to something, and what it gave us wasn't expected, but it was good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. It was definitely a touching scene from Aemon. He's just humble and just felt more like a real person. But again, what happened to Aemon, dude? He found himself a good fucking partner. That's what it comes down to. That's why I like Alice, right? Because it's like, you know what? Aemon was kind of a piece of shit. Although I've kind of felt bad for him throughout this entire show. There's something about Aemon that I really felt bad about him. In particularly in that scene, I think it was like the first or second season. I can't remember, where he's at the fucking strip club or whatever. And he's walking around naked. Everyone's like kind of like laughing at him and making fun of him. I was just like, man, I felt bad for the kid. Because I was like, of course he's going to be doing evil, man. You guys put him in that fucking place. So the fact that he like found Alice and like Alice is just the right person for him, that's It's good, man. But it was a great scene, and I loved Baby Gone here too. It was weird, but it was awesome to see him come back and confront his brother. Yeah, he's an asshole, but he was wronged by fucking Aemon. So it was kind of nice to see him stand on his own and fucking
Although to be fair,
himself.
Aemon was wronged by Baby Gone too.
That is true. Yes, that is true. Like I said, Baby Gone is a fucking asshole, but there is some kind of chaotic property going on with him right now that I'm definitely enjoying.
My one thought on Aemon finding a good partner, assuming he's actually going to go with Aegon, which I think we can assume that is actually going to happen. He's going to go with Aegon. He's going to find Vhagar. He's going to be away from Alice for some time. Is he going to revert back to his previous asshole self? I guess we'll see. The other part about that is you say like he found a good partner. Here's my thing. Is this codependency or is it Alice being more of a therapist? I kind of am leaning toward more codependency, especially with how distraught she looked at the idea that he is very likely going to leave her and Harrenhal to go with Aegon.
Yes.
Yes.
However, yes, I'm not going to disagree with that. Yes, that is a true statement. However, when you're in love, you just don't give a shit. Okay, and you feel good and it doesn't matter.
Although I don't know, Alice being stuck at Harrenhal and or stuck in the bounds of the Riverlands and maybe not even allowed to leave Harrenhal for long periods of time. Again, there's a lot about this that I feel doesn't bode well for Aemond and Alice especially. And I just go back to, okay, Alice at first seemed like maybe it was like she was therapizing and to an extent that's okay. But then when she revealed her backstory and the way she looked when Baby Gone showed up and was almost certainly convincing Aemond to leave with him. It screamed codependency to me, which concerns me. But hey, I guess we will see in 2-ish years.
If I was Aemond, I would just be like, nah, I'm just going to stay. As much as I hate Harrenhal, dude, this is Aemon's chance of having, I'm not going to say a normal life, because clearly it's not normal, but at least a peaceful life. He can sit there and have, a dozen babies with fucking Alice and just like raise them and be a good dad. And
peaceful until somebody from Rhaenyra's side comes back to take Harrenhal, which we already know she's sending the phrase there to try to take it. But it would be nice if that was a possibility. I don't think it is. Unfortunately for Aemond and Alice. I almost hate to say like unfortunately for Aemond because he has been an ass, but like you said, you do kind of feel bad for him. And it's like, man, with the right therapy and whatever, maybe you could just turn out not the worst.
Yeah, everybody deserves a redemption story. And
maybe not everybody.
Not everybody.
Maybe not everybody.
Most people deserve like a redemption story, right, dude? And Alice is Aemon's fucking redemption story, regardless of the circumstances or the weirdness of it. Honestly, I think it benefits everyone for Aemon to stay there.
Yeah.
Because then we don't have Vhagar on the map anymore. We don't have all these kind of things. So as a strategy, if I was Rhaenyra, I'd be like, oh, Aemon's lost in Luigi's mansion? Okay, let's just leave him there. That way he can never ride Vhagar. So Vhagar's off the map. We don't have to deal with that. I don't know. Sounds strategic to me.
Could be. Unfortunately, probably not the ending we're going to get.
No, definitely not. Hot take number 5. That's a proper fucking by the North. Or bye-bye Ormond and good fucking riddance with a giant dagger up the ass, dude. This was very satisfying. Ormond getting his fucking prostate massage with some real nice fucking steel. And I love it when the dragon rides in and Roddick's just like raising his hands, his 1.5 arms, and just fucking gets burned. Beautiful death scene.
That's what he wanted. He wanted to die for his queen and he wanted to take out Ormond in the process and he got it all. This fight was exactly what I could have wanted and expected as this show's adaptation of it from Fire and Blood. In the book, there is another Hightower present during this fight. His name is Sir Brynden Hightower. He's the one who actually cuts off Roderick's arm, but Brynden Hightower isn't really a necessary character, as in he doesn't do much of note in the story outside of that, at least as far as I can remember. So having it just be Ormond versus Roderick worked for me. And the giant dagger up the ass for Ormond was just the icing on the cake. Like, yeah, so gross. So gross. Yep. But also fuck you, Ormond. And my one qualm about this is we didn't get enough of Roddy the Ruin in this season. We got a decent amount. I would have liked to see a whole lot more of him. He's he's fun. He's fun.
Yeah.
And I have some more things to say about him and the Winter Wolves in my favorites roundup. But this fight, like I said, it was exactly what I could have wanted and expected as a way for this show and the way they've done things to adapt from the book. Do you have anything else about that? That was a short one.
That was a short one, but it was absolutely magnificent.
It was necessary.
Yeah.
It was necessary. We've been complaining about Ormond for weeks. And he's just summarily taken off the board. Thank you, Roddy, for doing this service.
Yes, I will say in this season, at least they're not making us wait too long for the assholes to fucking get killed. Hats off to the writers when they killed fucking Coleslaw really quickly in this season. Very happy about that. So we had to wait a little bit for Ormond, but at least they made it fucking satisfying. I loved the fact that he was just having to look down the fucking business end of a dragon and then get roasted. And I just fucking loved Roderick. He's just like, yeah. It's like, dude, if I'm going to go out, I would love to go out like that.
Hot take number 6. Fuck you, no one is cool, fuck all y'all, I'm out. In which Ulf goes rogue and burns both sides of the army and the town itself at Tumbleton. I'm just going to go ahead and get the book differences out of the way. I am going to leave some things out that are possible / very likely future spoilers. So if you're a book reader listening to this and take note of missing facts, I promise I am leaving them out on purpose for the sake of Manny and anyone else listening who hasn't read Fire and Blood, because I do know we have some listeners who also don't want to be spoiled. So in Fire and Blood, the blacks are the ones defending Tumbleton, while the greens, who have a much larger army, are the ones outside the walls. I've been dying to talk about this most of the season, but as I already talked about in hot take number 5, Roddy the Ruin does kill Ormond, but it happens when the Winter Wolves ride out to meet the Hightower army, and once Ormond and other important Hightower army leaders are killed, the blacks defending Tumbleton assume they've won the battle until Ulf turns his dragon on the town and burns it on behalf of the Greens. So Ulf doesn't burn the Hightowers. He is supposed to be there as backup for Rhaenyra's army who's defending Tumbleton, and does not do the thing he's supposed to do and only turns his dragon on Tumbleton, really turning on the blacks and therefore on Tumbleton. So he's burning the side he was supposed to fight for, but also still burning the town like he does in the show. Differences aside between the book and the show, wow, is this going to have some far-reaching consequences? Possibly / probably for both sides, because in Fire and Blood, Ulf remains sided with the Greens after this battle. But at this point, will that be the case in the show? Perhaps if he hooks up with Aegon and uses the excuse of, hey, well, I took out your relative who was trying to raise up your younger brother in your place, but that might be a bit of a stretch. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to handle this in season 4, because maybe Ulf is just going to literally, I'm out, fuck off, and we're not going to see him again, or he's just going to wreak some random havoc for no good reason wherever he feels like it. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what, if anything, happens with him, because again, he remains allied with the Greens after the Battle of Tumbleton in Fire and Blood. It's going to be interesting and or difficult for him to remain on that side of things when he fucked both sides.
But Ulf is clearly being used by both sides.
Oh yeah.
He didn't ask for any of this and is just expected to serve. Fuck that shit. This is just a person who is now an independent contractor, and honestly, good for him. No one cares about him except for the fact that he rides a fucking dragon. So Ulf, fuck everyone and go do your fucking thing, dude.
Well, minus the fact that him burning Tumbleton meant he also burned a whole fuck ton of innocent people. That part, not so great.
No, I get it, but Ormond put all those kids up there also. He did all that shit also.
And herded everybody who was outside the city into the city on purpose too.
Exactly. He fucking did it on purpose. Ormond's fucking dead now. With Ulf, man, I wouldn't have necessarily burned either side. I would have just flew away is what I would have done and been like, fuck you guys. None of you people give a fuck about me. Again, wielding me like a fucking sword. You don't fucking give a shit. I will take your dragon. Thank you very much. We're going to go live a peaceful life out in whatever place is not documented in fucking Westeros yet, and that's what we're gonna do. And go fuck yourself.
All he needs is a nearby pub.
That's exactly, dude.
Maybe he can go pick up his buddies from King's Landing and just
exactly. He can go out there, listen to his fucking yacht rock or his dragon rock, and he's just hanging out in whatever the equivalent of Barbados is, and fuck all this war bullshit.
Yeah, I guess with him turning on both sides, it just, I don't know. I'm not going to say anymore. I don't want to say something and spoil something tangentially, even. So, yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Hot take number 7. Why is it always the innocents who suffer the most when you play your Game of Thrones? Because in this case, we are saying goodbye and rest in peace to our poor, sweet, innocent Helena. I have things to say about this one.
She just had enough, understandably so. She knew that her pregnancy was just another padlock on her imprisonment. And after the treatment she received at Rhaenyra's hands in the last episode, but even more especially this episode, again, we say, how dare about that awful force feeding. Horrifying, honestly.
I will say this. That one scene alone made me leave Team Black. That scene alone, I was like, you know what? Go fuck yourself, fucking Rhaenyra. I hope you die in fucking flames or get torn apart or put your head on a fucking stake. Go fuck yourself at this point. Sorry.
I don't even think it wasn't even a smart thing to do in terms of Rhaenyra trying to keep the throne. Okay, so listen, Helena won't eat and it's not good for her. It's not good for the baby. Well, you don't want that baby to exist probably because if it's a boy, it's, as we've talked about before, another boy in the line as a claimant for the throne. If the child is a boy, he would be the only son of Aegon. I get it. Like, you want people to think that you're taking care of Helena, but force feeding her is not taking care of her. Ugh, I don't know. Ugh, I don't even. No, our poor girl. She'd clearly reached her breaking point, and I hate that this happened. It was different than it happens in the books. I honestly don't really want to get into it because I don't like the Helena story. I'm not even sure I liked how they did it in the show here. Maybe mostly because I just didn't want her to die. In the book, that is how she dies. She throws herself from a window. But in the book, she does have another son, and that son was sent away. And that son ends up getting discovered on the road to quote unquote safety and is literally torn apart by a mob. And it's after that that Helena ends her life in the book. So it's different. But why they even bothered having her be pregnant in the show, I feel like that was neither here nor there, that she was pregnant and that she could have lived through part of next season and had somewhat different reasoning for not wanting to live anymore. I feel like they were just taking a character off the roster in a way, which I don't care for. And maybe I'm wrong about that. I didn't really love how they did this, not in so much as because it was different from the book, but I don't know, just because I wanted more of Helena.
Well, knowing that now and knowing what it said in the book, I feel like in this season, they had to have some kind of death that would affect the audience.
Yeah.
No one's going to give a fuck when Ormond fucking gets killed. But Helena was such an innocent that I feel like they just rushed it because they were like, well, we got to do something for this season.
Yeah.
To make people kind of reeling so that way they can wait to see what happens in season 4. So I feel like this might have been a rush with the fucking writers.
I'm glad you said it because I've kind of been hemming and hawing about whether that was maybe the case because, of course, yeah, it sucks that Roddy the Ruin died, but he went out like a badass.
Exactly as he wanted to, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All he talked about was how he wanted to die in service of the queen, and that's exactly what he did, and he was happy for it. And other than him, who's died this season that we actually cared about? Really cared about. Only Helena. Sure as hell not Kristen Cole.
They needed to have a tragic death in this one, and I think they just pushed it forward is what they did.
Yeah, one other thing I just wanted to touch on, because I know you have some more things you wanted to say, but I wanted to touch on that there were a lot of similarities to how they showed Tommen's death in Game of Thrones. Supposedly it wasn't the exact same window. To be fair, the colonnades on the window are different in the Tommen scene versus this one. And when I say colonnades, I mean like the stone pieces. You can change glass, you can change curtains, but to change stone pillars on an ancient castle, that's different. But the room that Helena was in and the room that Tommen was in had what looked like the same or almost the same exact view. Thankfully, we didn't see Helena actually do the thing. I think that would have, I might have had to walk away for a bit if they had actually shown it. But Tommen was also arguably an innocent, or at least mostly so. The parallels between not just how they died by their own choice and through a window, but even the very, very eerily similar windows and the view. The view really is what got me. Like, are these rooms next to each other? Maybe, I don't know. I I feel like if they hadn't changed the colonnades, there would have been no doubt in my mind, even if the producers were like, no, it's not the same room. Like, fucking obviously it's the same room, but it was slightly different in terms of the stone pillars. So sure, guys, whatever. But yeah, I just wanted to point out the similarities there. And a lot of people are saying it was the exact same room, but
it's debated.
We talked to Patrick about it. He shared an article that said where Ryan Condal said it's not the same room. But again, guys, if you didn't want people to think it was the same room, you probably should have made it look a little bit more different. Just saying. Anyway.
I've got thoughts. Westeros did not deserve this pure fucking queen. Okay. She was the most human. When I saw the window open, and Jen will attest to this because she watched it with me. She sat down with me to watch it. When I saw the window open, I grabbed onto her and I was like, oh my God, yes. Because I thought that she used the window as an escape route to go grab Dreamfire. That's what I thought because we all saw that prophecy, right? All prophecies, fucking whatever. This is why I fucking hate prophecies, right? Because it made me all excited about Helena finally having enough, and instead of just killing herself, because look, that's the way I've always seen life, to where I'm like, yes, I'm going to get on the dragon and I'm going to burn everybody. I attack. I'm not going to attack myself. I'm going to attack my aggressor, not the other way around. So that's what I thought. But her death fucking broke me, and it broke my vested interest in this show. My vested interest really died with her. And again, maybe that makes the 2-year wait less unbearable, because now I'm just kind of like, whatever. I'm a little more excited for Dunk and Egg now at this point. Can't wait for Dunk and Egg. Doing season 4, honestly, it's just going to be like an autopsy to me. I already know it's dead, but I want to know what killed it. And the only thing that comes close to some type of interest is Rhaena and Sheep Stealer. I want to find out what happens to them. That's pretty much it. At this point, that's all I have left. No one deserves the throne. They just all need to burn. I don't know. Just not excited. Also, it seemed like the 10 seconds we got of Alicent was her realizing that Helena was dead with the butterflies and the moths.
I think she took it as a sign as well. Yeah.
I
think that's the only reason they showed her in this episode.
So with that, I have 2 things, because I really do have a thought about season 3 in itself, in its entirety. But let me just start with this. Dear Viserys, our king, our guardian, and our protector, I am so sorry your kids and your family line fucked everything up. You thought you weren't a good king? However, clearly you were. Look at what has taken place in your absence. You held all the kings together through peace and security, and your apple has fallen far from the tree, my king.
0 out of 10 Targ eyebrows for Helena being gone.
0 out of 10. I am so fucking mad. Jen had to hear all about it for about like 30 minutes. I was like raving about this, and I had to show her the like dream sequence with her on fucking Dreamfire with the most haunting Dracarys we've ever heard in Game of Thrones. I mean, I was just like, yes, girl, fucking fuck these people who have been messing with you for so long. And now I don't get to see it. They ripped it away from me. They took it away from me.
All of that said, I think we both have a lot of meh things to say about this episode, which maybe we'll get into some more of that when we rate it in a little bit. But for now, let's go into our favorites roundup. I'm going to start with, I did like the addition of Aegon and Sunfire to the intro theme. The sparks around him and also like it showed his face getting kind of like half burned. Obviously his face was already burned, but I thought that the sparks were a nice touch. I liked that addition. What I loved, the Winter Wolves and their battle hype. You know what it reminded me of is A Knight's Tale. It was so very, we will rock you.
Yep. Yeah.
Man, and they just lived up to their word on all fronts when they rushed the walls and fought in the city and everything. 10 out of 10 Targ eyebrows. I will watch those moments of them hyping themselves up for the battle where they're banging on their shields and yelling. I will watch that 20,000 times, honestly. Loved it. 10 out of 10. Maybe I'll go with you. 11 out of 10. I mean, we were so hyped about Kristen Cole's death, but this is the good hype. This is the positive hype. So many Targ eyebrows deserved for these dudes.
I'm with you on that one for sure.
I also like the fight between Daemon and Bull John Roxton.
Mhm.
This is the first time I think we really saw Damon in a fight that he was going to lose. He was gonna lose that
Yeah.
fight. I didn't
Oh, yeah.
like that he was gonna lose it, right? But the fight itself was still a favorite of mine in this episode because you gotta give Bull John Roxton credit. It was all super badass and, in my opinion, a good addition to the show since the two, they never cross swords at all in Fire and Blood. This was an entirely new thing, and I thought it
Hmm.
was a pretty cool addition. Also, as a note though, the post-battle Tumbleton scene with Damon when he wakes up right after he's been fighting John Roxon and Ulf comes in with Silverwing and burns the city and it collapses a whole bunch of buildings and stuff and it separates Damon and John Roxton, and you don't know for sure that Roxon has lived until a little bit later, but when Damon wakes up in the smoke and he sees the horse and like the women with their children and everything was to me very reminiscent of the scene in season 8 episode 5 of Game of Thrones where Arya, she wakes up in King's Landing as Dany is burning the city because she wakes up
Yep.
and Dany is still flying Drogon doing passes and still burning, but it was very, very reminiscent of that, and I thought that was a good callback.
I agree. That was a good callback. Definitely had very similar filming style of what they were doing. So it
Oh
was
yeah,
definitely-
they had to have known what they were doing. We praise the writers in this show as much as there's things that we don't like. We have a lot of praise for it, and I think when they do things like this that are obviously not exact, because in Game of Thrones, Arya, she tries to like help the small folk, that doesn't go so well, et cetera, et cetera. But it was the smoke-filled city, the horse going by. As soon as Damon woke up and there was a smoke, I was like, oh, this looks familiar. And then the horse ran by and I was like, oh, this is definitely familiar. I had to look up the exact episode, but I knew exactly why it was familiar. Damon is not Arya, but still, it was, I think it was a good, if they did not mean it to be a callback, then, oh, okay. But they had to have. Though.
Yes. I love it and I hate it, and I'll tell you why at the end. So for mine, I was a big fan of the Northerners. It was just nice to see how they were just expecting to die and willing to go nuts before that happened. When he's talking to like Damon, and Damon's like, well, open the gate and then die. And he's like, open the gate, then die. Okay, no problem. Like, I loved that eagerness. Damon's speech to the Northerners, where he's like, I don't want the best of you, I want the worst of you. Very brutal, but it was definitely fucking cool. Obviously, Baby Gun and Aemon catching up. And now that we know everything we know about Alice, maybe there won't be a Luigi's Mansion 3. So maybe that was just it, and we can be fucking done with it. Ormond getting rimmed by the blade of a Northerner. Loved it, obviously. And Roderick throwing up his 1.5 arms and then getting burned. And I'm sorry, but the like, fuck you too was perfect. He's coming down with the dragon. He's like, fuck you too. And fucking burned it. I was like, that's the fucking kind of chaos that I fucking love, And also the tapestry that Helena was making. I really loved the fucking symbolism, and how it showed Helena falling to her death and Rhaenyra just like covered in blood with all this fire in the background. As
the
you
weird,
and Patrick would know.
Demonic claws too.
Exactly. And like, as you and Patrick would know, I'm not all about these dreamers and prophecies, but Helena would have made a believer out of me. But she's gone now, so fuck him.
Yeah. Well, and just going back to Damon, you mentioned like his speech to the Northerners, and I don't want the best of you, I want the worst of you. But at the same time, he was actually trying to obey Rhaenyra when she said, "Don't make a monster out of me." Even when he brings Caraxes to the gate
he was
to burn that one
kids,
gate. Yeah. The 2 kids that stood up and wouldn't move. Like, okay, at this point, you might have been conscripted into this, but you're there. I'm not saying I'm okay with Damon burning children literally at all. Okay, I am not. But he tried. He really did. Yep. He failed miserably. And I think, unfortunately, because it was Ulf on Silverwing who burned Tumbleton, that's going to come back as like, oh, well, it was Rhaenyra's guy and his dragon who burned Tumbleton. But Damon, he did try. I will give him props. I will give him like 6 out of 10 Targ eyebrows because he shouldn't have burned even the 2 kids who stood up to him. But
he did try.
Which is very un-Damon in an episode where Damon was very, very Damon most of the time.
It is. But I think that what they've done for this season for Damon has made me like him more, right? I liked him for his chaotic nature, but the way he was with Rhaena and trying to like protect her, and being like a dad. And then in this instance where he's trying to almost kind of like protect the kids and like get them away, like I liked that.
Yeah. Oh God, what would you rate this episode?
Man, I don't fucking know.
It's
I don't
so
know.
we were talking about this very briefly before we started recording, and we both agree, was it a bad episode of a show? No,
No.
it wasn't. We just didn't like things that happened in it. I think I'm gonna go with like a 6 out of 10, maybe a 6.5.
You know what? I think I'm with you on that one. I would give it about a 6.5 also. At this point with season 4, it's like I just want to speed run it. I wish they would just give us the entire season and I can just speed run it in one shot. Because at this point, I'm like, okay, this is getting old at this point. I just want to get it done. And that's how I felt about this season. In particularly, like how you had mentioned how that shot looked very similar to when Arya showed up. And then with the window, everybody thought that it was the same window that this dude threw himself off of. This is what I call the Mandalorian effect. You start a show that's different, like how they did with season 1. Season 1 was very beautifully written. Season 2, okay, but still kind of there. And then in this one, they had to remind you that this was a Game of Thrones show. Is what it was. And that's what I hated about the fucking Mandalorian, because the first season of the Mandalorian was a work of art. If you've ever watched or read the books of Lone Wolf and Cub, that's where they got their inspiration from, right? Or like Samurai 7 and all this stuff. They did fantastic. But then in season 3, they had to remind you what universe this was in. They're like, oh, no. Here's the lightsabers and the little puppet creatures and all these kind of fucking things to remind you what
Boba
universe
Fett.
you're in. Yeah, exactly. And now with this one, I feel like they did this for this season where it's like, well, we need to remind you that this is a Game of Thrones show. Oh, now, fortunately, we have good writers for the show, so they didn't make it over the top gratuitous or anything weird. Like the fact that we didn't see Helena fall and like get killed is a good example of how the writers are still kind of in control. But I really feel like this is the point in a television show where the producers are like, okay, we need to remind the audience what universe that this belongs to. And I felt like with this season, they were kind of doing that, which honestly doesn't give me a ton of hope of what's coming for fucking season 4.
So yeah, I'm leaning towards 6.5 out of 10 Targ eyebrows because I love that scene with Baby Gon and Aemond. Weirdly enough, I loved the Winter Wolf stuff in this episode. Like you said, I even liked that Daemon actually tried to make Rhaenyra not seem as monstrous by not just automatically taking Caraxes and burning the children on the battlements in the beginning and stuff. But yeah. Yeah, a lot of reminders that this is a Game of Thrones show, which we all know how that ended. Yeah, one more season. One more season.
Ugh, let's just get it over with at this point.
I'm still going to enjoy it. I think I'm still curious, especially from a book reader's perspective. I'm always going to be interested in how they continue to adapt what little they have from Fire and Blood, because they also they have the whole story, but there's no finer points. It's a history. And I've liked a lot of the changes that they've made and or been understanding of a lot of the changes that they've made. So yeah, I guess we'll see. And there's no point in, I don't want to do Maester Manny predictions because then I'm going to have to somehow
go back to this like 2 years from now. No,
we might talk a little bit about that when we do our hottest takes episode.
Yeah.
But for now, I think it's just time to close it out, to say goodbye to House of the Dragon for now. And I don't know, sort of look forward to season 4, even though there's very few people to root for. And I feel like the people we do want to root for, they're not going to sit on the Iron Throne, let's be real. Rhaena and Sheep Stealers sadly aren't going to take the Iron Throne.
No. But hey, kudos to everyone in the community, because I still don't know how this fucking thing ends. And we've been going on this for 4 years now?
4 years, and you somehow have not been spoiled.
I'm like the fucking Teflon spoiler guy. I don't get it. Nobody's said anything. I can sense when I'm watching a reel that's going to reveal something, so I just keep going. Like, I've done really good on just dodging all of the spoilers.
Any last thoughts about this episode specifically? We'll do some more thoughts about the season as a whole when we do our full season recap. But any other thoughts about this episode?
No, man. Still reeling from Helena's death. I'm really upset about it.
Yeah, I got choked up all 3 times I watched it.
I've watched it twice. This is the only episode I watched twice.
The first time I watched it, I think I was just so overwhelmed by the episode as a whole that I definitely got a little choked up. The second and third times, I just like straight up teared up about Helena. So, R.I.P. to our beautiful girl. She deserved better in this life, Helena. And on that note, as we close out the episode, we just want to thank you, our listeners, for joining us for Hot D Takes. For the most current news and updates about this series, including our upcoming hottest Hot D Season 3 Takes episode, which we don't have a recording date scheduled for just yet, but it will almost certainly be sometime this month. And also our annual Drinking Con show, which is a Dragon Con show that is airing live on Saturday, August 22nd. Make sure to follow at A Geek Saga on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and or YouTube. And also please consider backing our Patreon at patreon.com/geeksaga_entertainment.